Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video, we'll be going through the AFL fantasy trade targets for round 8, I believe we're up to. Is it round 8? I think it is. Yeah, it is round 8 that we're up to in the AFL season. So before we jump into this video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload, and let's jump into this video. So, as you can see, this one's probably going to be a very quick one. Obviously, it is recorded late at night. These ones seem to be, the trade targets are the ones that get recorded late at night sometimes on the Tuesday night, because the Monday night, most people haven't done their trades or stuff like that, so you have limited data to sort of go off the community trends, which is one thing I like to do. And so, yeah, but at least we can do the rookies here, and the trends, I mean, they're kind of set in stone this week. I would have been able to sort of name them anyway, the players, as you would see below if you're watching on YouTube on the Primo section. But anyway, the rookies this week is bleak. It is a word that I would definitely use. Carroll is 367k, so he's verging on being really, really expensive for a rookie. That is roughly, if we're using, he's priced about 36, which last year that would be roughly about 320k, 330k, I think, maybe even a little bit more. So yeah, he definitely is a guy that's verging on being in that echelon where you just have to miss him. But yeah, he's still going to make cash if you have the ability to get to him. So you have him. I brought him in last week or a couple of weeks ago. I think it might have been last week actually, and made some cash over Buzzlinger, and it just shows he made 53k and Buzzlinger I don't think made much. Oscar McDonald, another guy that could possibly play. We haven't heard anything about Boyd, and I don't think he plays anytime soon, although Marshall had a bounce back game, but he's been poor most of the time for the last month or so. McDonald, I think, unfortunately cops the chop because Luke Jackson looks all but back and available. I'm actually just going to do this as well because I haven't checked the injury list. So you've got, this is the 29th is the updated. So you have Borlas and Fogarty a test, which I don't think has too much of an impact for Adelaide. Kai Lohmann a test, and then also we see that Kitty Coleman will have his first game in 15 months when he runs out in the VFL. Given he hasn't played in 15 months, that's probably going to be, you would expect, a couple games in the VFL, so that probably helps out the likes of Zorko a little bit until then, and we'll just have to see how those two interact. And then you've got Lohmann a test as well. And then you've got no one else coming back from Carlton, I don't think. Chera's suspended at the moment, but we don't know if the likes of that suspension will hold, but I think he's fine with his injury side of that, whether he would miss or not. And then no one else really back from them. And then Collingwood, no one's coming back, I don't think. So that's that. Then you've got Essendon with Caldwell another week away. So yeah, it could mean that Elijah Sardis gets a game against North Melbourne, which would be a little bit annoying, but because he got held back in the VFL. But yeah, he might not actually play because they've got Shield and Jones available, you would expect. So I don't think they lost anyone else to injury. Then for Fremantle, you see Jackson, the test that we were talking about, as well as Will Brodie, but he's not going to play. So that's that, and I don't think anyone else is there. Yeah, so they don't have anyone else back. Never is a test with a foot injury, and then the rest of the list is pretty much TBCs for Geelong, so they don't have anyone coming back. Leo Lombard still 4 to 6 weeks. That sucks for him. He just doesn't seem to be making much progress. Fiorini, I'd be surprised if he doesn't get a call up this week because he's had like 81 touches and 6 goals in the last 2 weeks. Cogs is a test, still waiting on the likes of Brett Daniels to come back for GWS, but they're pretty much down to not much on their injury list. It is basically Brett Daniels, and that's it. Then you've got Hawthorn. They've got Amon and Scrimshaw into concussion protocols. So that probably helps out Sicily a little bit, but you're not going to be picking him because of that. It could also help out Seamus Mitchell or someone like that to get a game. So yeah, it will be interesting to see how that goes there and what they do with that. No injuries of note for Melbourne, just looking at that. Yeah, Daniel Turner is a test. And then North Melbourne, no injuries there, just looking at that. Paul Curtis had a failed bid to get his suspension knocked. That was really, really poor, I felt like. But anyway, there's enough said on that. And yeah, they have some guys coming back available. Zach Fisher could come back in, but that would be wild for them. Port Adelaide don't have anyone from memory here coming back. Sin out with a concussion could open up for a halfback potentially to come in. Maybe it is just the likes of Finlayson at halfback. And then we still have Cochrane out with the foot injury. Richmond, the ACL boys coming back. And Samson Ryan a couple of weeks away. St Kilda, Mason Wood concussion protocols could open up a spot for, Hugh Boxall has been absolutely knocking the door down, as well as Angus Hasty could be another one if they consider a winger / half forward, just a direct replacement for the likes of Mason Wood. And then Sydney have no one returning, because why would they have returning? Mills is still, where is he? 1 to 2 weeks away. So them saying that he could potentially play, I don't think so. He might return through the VFL this week or next week, but I don't think it will. Yeah, so he's a week-to-week proposition. I wouldn't be surprised if they try and get a half in the VFL or something just to get some game time into him. West Coast don't have anyone else in the injury list, and then you've got Treloar is a test, as well as McNeil and also Luke Kennedy, who's not going to play, and then also Caulfield. So Western Bulldogs are getting some guys back, so potentially this is really bad news for, well, Sanders to a certain extent, as well as not really Libba, but maybe a little bit. Just the easy touches go to sort of Treloar. So yeah, that'll be interesting. Buslinger was picked, but and Liam Jones played in the VFL, so that'll be interesting if they give him an extended run. And that would be really annoying because we still have the sub rule, that there's a very good chance that these rookies get played as the sub on their debut. And also a very big chance that Buslinger gets dropped potentially. So, having said all that, I needed to do that just to sort of line up what I'm about to go through in about a minute's flat. McDonald looks like he's gone. Carroll could come out for Cowan, but from what I've heard from Carlton fans, they really like Carroll's ball use. Sorry about that. Over Cowan, and he just butchered the ball in the second quarter, and he should be fine in the long run. He provides something for them. Sandy Brock didn't play. Don't know if he played how he played in the VFL, but sorry, not the VFL, the Waffle, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's nearing on a return, just because you would expect them to get games into guys like Sandy. He had 12 touches, 3 marks in the Waffle, which doesn't really scream out anything there. Lucas is probably getting beaten out by his brother at this point in time in the VFL. He had, I think, 14 touches. Caden Cleary, he's probably one of the better rookies as well, but he's at 457k, which is really, really expensive to have for a rookie. So you kind of had to already grab him, and he'll just be making cash. It could also become a point where Sydney start to wave the white flag and just play a lot of the youngsters. I know if we go back to their injury list here, you'll see that they're youngsters in Patton. Oh, actually, as well, Wicks will just replace Patton if it is what we think it is. But yeah, Sydney, Sam Wicks tweaks his calf, only to be replaced by Ben Patton, who tweaks his calf. You know, just because, why not? So yeah, that is interesting, as well as Taylor Adams back in a week. So I think Caden Cleary deserves a spot over Taylor Adams, just due to his versatility, but that'll be interesting. I think the likes of Taylor Adams would be straight back into the side for Sydney when he's fit, just because they need some toughness in that side. Cochrane is injured. Harry Armstrong injured. Will White is a forward at 416. No, thank you. Buzzing is probably the most obvious, sort of cheap rookie, I would say, just because you've got Boyd. Everyone's started him or didn't grab him. Carroll is pretty expensive, so if you were looking at a rookie under 300k, you go for Buzzlinger. I think Davis will get games, just not going to be relevant, and then you're getting down to sort of Aiden Johnson, not even guys that aren't even playing, injured, or just have really big sub potential job security issues, which is, I mean, that's rookies in general, but this year it seems to be really, really bad. So we are just waiting for the mid-season draft or teams to start waving the white flag, especially some of the older sides like Sydney, Melbourne maybe, but they're kind of in a form patch at the moment, as well as you're just going to get the constant Richmond and West Coast rookies, it feels like. Now, on to the Primos, and the Primo of the week, the obvious one, I feel like, is Christian Petrarca. He started to turn his form around in the last 3 weeks. You can see an average of 106, and that is perfect for a forward. He's not going to do the damaging, and I say this as he kicked 2 goals on the weekend. It was very efficient, but it wasn't damaging in terms of fantasy, to be honest, unless you had both Sanders and Davidson in your forward line. But yeah, I think Petrarca is the obvious trade, and you can get basically a rookie straight up to him. I think I'm even holding on to Davidson just in case he gets a big score. But yeah, I'm probably trading some of my dead rookies to a certain extent up to Petrarca just to get him in, and keep some of the higher end rookies in case they can pop a big 100 score, whereas some of the other rookies like Finn O'Sullivan I don't think can. But yeah, that's sort of Petrarca's the obvious one. And then you've got Buzzlinger, the obvious played rookie, as he's got a 13 break even, so it is low-ish, but it still means that he's going to have to do some work to get up to it, but he's shown he can score pretty well, and he does have Port Adelaide, who that'll be an interesting matchup. Boxall should come in, but we don't know with Ross, and we know that Ross likes to hook players quite early, so yeah, he is definitely dangerous in terms of going for him if you were. Ned Long is a big trade in, 95 last week, 660k, has gone an average, what's that, 93.3, priced at 65-ish, that's still plus 28. That he could easily do it, but then also I see like this 72 here, I see this like 90 here, and I go, okay, the games that he hasn't been sub, he's had 61 points in 2 sub games, so that puts him at 440 in 5 games. 440 in 5 games is an average of 88. So he's plus 22 or so on what he's priced at. Probably should have grabbed him last week, to be honest with you, or a couple weeks ago. But yeah, that's but also with Collingwood, it'll be interesting with Collingwood what they do, because I don't know if they have anyone returning. Tom Mitchell's still TBC. Lockie Schultz returning, so that's another player that's returning. And then also potential for McStay will just be replaced by Mason Cox, we expect. But yeah, another guy returning in Lockie Schultz could be interesting on the dynamic of Collingwood, but I don't expect it to damage Long's role too much at all. So I expect him still to go 80-85. It's just whether he can not go the 95 plus type of range, as that's really where it gets damaging for non-owners. Nick Dacos is pretty obvious now. He heads into a really kind run. I was almost saying that you should pick him up for in preseason, this Essendon run here, after Essendon, but it proved that it was basically after Brisbane that you should have picked him up for. After Sydney you should have picked him up for. And yeah, glad to have him in my side for the couple games, and we'll see how he goes in the future. But he's got Geelong. They're an easy-ish matchup if I remember correctly. If we just go here and then open this up and then go last 10 for midfielders, and Geelong are still a plus 3.18, and then in the last 5, Geelong are a minus 4.28 in the last 5. But did that have a major injury or something like that? It had Josh Ward down at 50 being such a negative, as well as Jack Viney of 50, as well as Harvey Langford at 36. So that's interesting that there's quite a lot of big negatives here, as well as Saligo 52. So yeah, it's interesting that there's a couple of big negatives here. So maybe they aren't so good a matchup, but I'm pretty sure Nick Dacos will just take him to the cleaners anyway. Chad Warner is basically the if you don't have enough cash for Christian Petrarca move. Simply put, he's about 60k cheaper. And then Wangani Malira is probably the number one defender to grab in at the moment, as he's gone, I mean, not even really to that point. I would almost rather go rogue on a Bowie who's 150k cheaper than go for the likes of a Wangani Malira. To be honest with you, as Wangani Malira has also been training in the midfield, I think, and I had some CBAs, I want to say. I could be wrong about this, but off the eye test, I want to say he was in the CBAs for St Kilda for some reason. Yeah, 56% CBAs. That's an interesting bit of, as I don't think CBAs would help him in the long run of things. I know it did help him on the weekend in terms of his scoring, but I don't think in the long run, he isn't much of a tackler, so I don't think it will help him too much. And then you've got a lot of rookie guys, etc. And then Campbell Gray got subbed out, so I just don't think you can go there with the 21 break even. Tristan Cherry is going to be a tough one to just watch sort of get away from us, it feels like. As this is, he hasn't done well against the likes of Goldstein in the past, so it will be interesting to see if he does well against him. But you can basically see that he's gone 129, 190, 116, 122 in the weeks that he hasn't been injured. If we look at that in terms of points and average, just 1 second here, that is an average of 114.25, and you're getting him priced at about 96. So yeah, there definitely is massive upside. I'm even looking at potentially grabbing him, but the thing is, we're getting close to that round 12 bye that he sits in, and I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying that Carlton also have the round 12. Yes, they do. So do you really want to be moving into him? It's an interesting one. I'd have to look at it, because I might be fine in just sort of grabbing him in like round 15 or round 16. But yeah, he could also be just mega price at that point. So it's one to just sort of watch and wait. I feel like we'll just watch and know when to sort of grab him on, as Carlton do have Adelaide, which I think is a hard matchup for Rucks, if my memory is correct. And I'm pretty sure the Essendon matchup for Rucks is a pretty decent one. If we go to Rucks, you've got Adelaide minus 13 in the last 10, and then you've got also Essendon in the last little bit minus 5.86. 5.85, sorry, and then in the last couple games, Essendon is now a 7.96, and then also you have Adelaide at minus 19.35. So that's very, very interesting that is the case with those ones, that is flipped around a little bit. So I may even consider doing some different trades just because of that. And then that's pretty much it. There is talk about a potential Windhager straight to Brayshaw tag, just to calm him down, as he's been on fire the last month and a half. If we just look at it, last 5 games, he's averaging 117. He's been absolutely on fire since a 95-77 start. So yeah, that pretty much is the video going through the fantasy trade targets for round 8. I hope you guys enjoyed this late upload, and I'll see you guys in the Supercoach version of this later. Bye guys.